Working as a hotel receptionist in the heart of Los Angeles had its quirks, and I considered myself a pro at handling the eccentricities of both guests and staff. However, one fateful day the hotel revealed a sinister side to it that I was not expecting, one that nobody before me had encountered. My shift had started like any other, with the relentless buzz of guests checking in and out, phone calls echoing in the lobby, and the clatter of luggage wheels on the marble floors. But the ordinary day took a chilling turn when a guest reported a strange odour emanating from their room. Duty called, and I embarked on a mission to locate the source of the foul smell. If there was one job to be done, I would do it. Customer satisfaction was high on my list of priorities, and most problems related to the building were easy fixes. The smell seemed to be emitting from a laundry chute across from the guest's room, so I went to further investigate what the cause was. I opened the chute, and there the odour was, more potent than it had been before I opened the wretched thing. The best way to describe the smell was like that of chicken that had gone off. I headed off down the stairs, scanning my access card, which played a nice little access tune, granting me access into the lower levels of the hotel where the linen chutes terminated. The door into the dirty linen chute room was a big old numb thing, with that old wire-reinforced frosted opaque glass. As I swung open the door, the odour greeted me yet again, intensified by the smell of damp linen and towels. My eyes scanned the shelves, searching for the offending linens, and it was then that I heard something, a faint sound of scurrying, like tiny feet scrambling across the cold tiled floor. It all made sense at that point. I thought it seemed like rats were the culprit, and maybe somehow one of them had gotten into the linen chute and died somewhere or something. My attention shifted to the laundry chute at the far end of the room, and as I approached the scurrying sounds returned, accompanied by an unsettling sensation that someone or something was watching me. But that wasn't uncommon. I always felt like that when I was down there anyway. Most employees did. Determined to maintain composure, I took a deep breath and looked up the chute. Darkness greeted me, but I didn't need to see to know that I was getting closer to the source of the smell. At this point, I had done all I could. I was all for customer satisfaction, but there was no way I was going to try and climb up a laundry chute. I decided it was a job for the exterminators, so I headed back towards the door to leave, and that's when I heard it. Faint whispers coming from the laundry chute. Pegged it down as being people talking in the corridors above, the sound travelling down. But as I continued towards the door, a figure suddenly appeared on the other side of the frosted glass, stood motionless, just standing there, like whoever it was had just been there observing me this whole time. I stood there, frozen to the spot for a moment, thinking who it could be. My colleagues and I like to play pranks on each other, but unless someone stood on a box, nobody that worked here would be that height of whoever was standing behind the door. Then that was when it occurred to me. If someone had entered the room after me, I would have heard the access card tune. Whoever was outside, still staring through the opaque frosted glass, must have been in here with me all along. My heart pounded in my chest as I weighed up my options. The room felt eerily silent, except for the unsettling whispers emanating from the laundry chute. With each passing second, the figure outside the frosted glass remained motionless, their features obscured by the opaque barrier. Summoning every ounce of courage, I took a step closer to the door. The figure on the other side mirrored my movement, and the whispers grew more distinct, as though they were now coming from within the room. The smell of damp linen and the pungent odour intensified, creating a nauseating atmosphere. As I hesitated, torn between staying hidden and confronting the mysterious presence, the figure outside the door raised a hand and pressed it against the frosted glass, and without warning, the whispers turned into a soft laughter, an eerie sound that echoed in the confined space. I took another step, my mind racing to make sense of the situation. Was this a prank? An elaborate setup by my colleagues? The possibility seemed increasingly unlikely, given the surreal and unsettling nature of the encounter. In a moment of desperation, I decided to break the silence. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking but defiant. And this was when the figure outside the door joined in on the laughter, the sound now taking on a more mocking tone that sent a chill down my spine. Suddenly the lights in the room flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. As the room plunged into momentary darkness, the whispers and laughter ceased abruptly, and when the lights returned, the figure had vanished. Terrified and confused, I bolted out of the room, my mind racing with unanswered questions, the oppressive whispers still echoing through the chute. My only intention was to escape whatever bizarre encounter had just unfolded. In the lobby I found my manager, and hastily explained the unsettling events in the laundry room. Skepticism painted her face, but concerns replaced it as she noticed the genuine fear in my eyes. Together we decided to investigate, although I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had transpired went beyond the realm of the ordinary hotel mishaps. As we approached the laundry room, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The whispers had ceased, the putrid smell had gone, and the oppressing feeling had been lifted. The room appeared mundane, with no trace of the mysterious figure. My manager assured me it was probably just a prank from one of our other colleagues. Reluctantly I nodded in agreement, though the unexplained laughter and the figure's unsettling disappearance left me with a sense of unease that lingered long after the incident. I know what happened to me, and I knew it wasn't any of my colleagues. It was something more, and I hoped to never have to face it again. Working the night shift at the hotel was a complete drag. The only advantage being that you could practically just sit on your phone all night and watch videos or scroll through social media. The lobby, usually bustling with guests during the day, transformed into a silent, dimly lit space. My colleague Jake and I would often kill time endlessly scrolling through social media and sharing memes to each other that we found hilarious on 9gag. Our nights were filled with mundane tasks, checking in the occasional late arrival, ensuring all doors were secure, and responding to the occasional guest request. The monotony led us to find amusement in harmless workplace banter. Jumping out on each other from behind corners became a nightly ritual once we had exhausted scrolling through the socials, and believe me, we did. 9gag completed it. One night, after a particularly entertaining meme sharing session, I decided to make my rounds through the corridors. It was a routine task, collecting any stray rubbish bags left by guests outside the rooms from takeaways or whatever, whilst also ensuring everything else was in order. As I walked down the hallways, the only sound was the soft hum of the hotel's ventilation system, and the dim glowing of the sensor-driven spotlights above highlighted my path. I made my way to the end of the corridor, gathering a few bags left outside guest doors, and when I got to the end and turned around, I froze. Standing at the far end of the corridor, bathed in the harsh light of a spotlight, was a figure. Assuming it was Jake, I chuckled and said, "Nice try, man, you almost got me." The figure remained silent. I took a step closer. The spotlight dimmed and turned off, and when it came back on, the figure was closer. Thinking it was all part of the usual banter, I called out again, "Alright, seriously, you got me, stop messing around." The figure remained motionless. A seed of unease planted itself in my mind. I approached cautiously, my laughter turning into a more hesitant inquiry. "Jake, is that you?" No response. As I drew nearer, the figure suddenly began to walk towards me, each spotlight turning on the closer they got. Their pace quickened to an unnaturally fast sprint, like Usain Bolt quick. Panic set in, and the spotlights along the corridor suddenly began to extinguish one by one the closer they got, leaving only the emergency lighting. My heart pounded in my chest as I raced for the stairwell, taking each step two at a time, the echoes of footsteps following closely behind. I burst into the lobby and jammed the door closed with a door wedge, which was the only thing I could find close by. I slouched my back against the door, gasping for breath, and could see Jake still at the front desk, unaware of the chaos that had just unfolded in the corridors. Panic must have been etched across my face because Jake's eyes widened with concern. "What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. And why are you propping the door?" he exclaimed. Fortunately, whoever or whatever pursued me hadn't followed me down the stairs. Well, at least they hadn't tried the door if they did. Unable to form coherent words, I got up from my slouched position against the door and made my way over to where Jake was sitting behind the desk. I then went on to grab his arm and pulled him towards the security monitors. I got him to rewind the footage, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious figure I had encountered in the corridor. But to my dismay, the cameras had captured nothing. It was as if the figure and myself had never been there. I combed through the footage from every floor and nothing. I see myself leave the desk in the footage and then simply not reappear anywhere on any of the recordings. Jake assumed it was my idea of a prank to try and scare him, and that I had simply skived and hid out of sight of the cameras in the stairwell where the CCTV cameras did not cover. And to be fair to him, this would be the kind of trick I would play on him, but not this time. This was real. And I know what I saw in that hallway, and it definitely was not in my head. The only explanation for whatever chased me must have escaped the hotel from one of the upper story fire exits, because the only other way to the reception area was from the lifts that opened up into the lobby, or the stairwell which I had sprinted back from just now. None of it made any sense to me. Even if the figure did escape from the fire exit, why was there no footage? Was it a coincidental glitch in the CCTV recording system? Or was it something paranormal? The truth is I never found out, and the events of that night remain a mystery to me. And while to Jake, he still believes it's all an elaborate prank of my doing. But I will say this, whatever that figure was, I'm glad that it didn't catch me, and I'm just glad nothing like this has ever happened again since. The night shift as a security guard at a hotel closed for the winter season was often a very lonely and boring job. My primary duty involved monitoring the surveillance cameras scattered throughout the sprawling complex, and making the odd patrol as and when I felt like stretching my legs really. Besides the work, I often found solace in my cigarette breaks at the back entrance. The narrow alley tucked away behind the back of the hotel became my refuge. It was a place where I could momentarily escape the sterile ambience of the hotel and take in the chilly night air. One particular night, as I stepped into the alley for my routine cigarette break, a chill ran down my spine and the air felt heavy, charged with an unusual tension. The streetlights overhead cast shadows and played tricks on my senses, forcing me to look over my shoulder and have my guard up more than usual. Taking a deep drag of my cigarette, I tried to shake off the feeling, dismissing it as a byproduct of the late hour. However, as I exhaled, a raspy voice echoed through the darkness. Do you ever wonder what lies beyond the shadows? The voice was low, almost a whisper, and it seemed to come from the far end of the alley. Startled, I turned towards the source, squinting into the darkness. A figure emerged, slowly materializing from the shadows. It was a man, clad in a tattered clothing, his face obscured by unkempt hair. His eyes, however, gleamed with an unsettling intensity. Beyond the shadows, I responded cautiously, unsure of what to make of this unexpected encounter. He grinned, revealing his yellowed teeth, and took a step closer. There are things that lurk in the darkness, things unseen, but I see them. Do you? His words put me on edge, and I instinctively took a step back, the glow of my cigarette casting an thermal light on his gaunt features. I see what I need to see, I replied, trying to maintain composure. He chuckled to himself. You're blind to the true nature of this place, this fortress of false security. I can show you. Unease tightened its grip on me as I weighed the options. The man's cryptic words left me unsettled, but a part of me was morbidly curious, and against my better judgment I asked, show me what? Without answering, he extended a trembling hand towards the security cameras lining the walls of the alley. His finger direction locked onto one random camera up on the wall. As he did this, I could see the monitors in the security room flickering through the window, static obscuring the once clear footage. My heart raced as I watched the glitchy displays, the man's laughter echoing through the alleyway. What did you do? I demanded, my voice a mixture of fear and anger. The veils are thin tonight, he whispered, his eyes fixated on the distorted screens. The hotel is alive with secrets, and you, my friend, are blind no more. A sense of dread settled over me as I stared at the malfunctioning cameras. The man's presence seemed to have warped the very fabric of the surveillance system. As quickly as he had appeared, he turned around, melting back into the shadows, leaving me alone in the alley, questioning the reality of the encounter. The remainder of the night unfolded with a surreal undertone. The cameras continued to glitch intermittently, capturing glimpses of distorted figures that seemed to move between the walls and corridors of the hotel. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been granted a disturbing glimpse into a hidden reality. In an attempt to regain control, I focused on my usual routine, patrolling the premises, checking the building perimeter, and ensuring all access points were secure. However, the encounter with the mysterious man had left an indelible mark on my psyche, As the first light of dawn came through the windows, the glitches in the surveillance system gradually subsided. Exhausted and bewildered, I handed over my duties to the day shift, eager to escape the peculiar events of that night. As days turned into weeks, the incident in the alley became a haunting memory in the back of my mind. Yet as I resumed my duties, I couldn't shake the feeling that the man's words held a kernel of truth. The hotel now seemed like a labyrinth of enigma and uncertainty, and with each passing night as I glanced at the surveillance cameras, I wondered if the shadows concealed more than met the eye, if the hotel harboured secrets that defied the boundaries of reality.